So hi, Dave. Thank you for joining me today. It's really a pleasure to sit and chat with you virtually, of course. You're off in the islands, and I'm quite well here in the United States. So pleasure to chat with you this today. I wanted to speak with you because I think, Dave, you are one of the top leaders in IT, associated with the pharmaceutical industry for many, many years. So I wanted to chat with you, but not under that umbrella today. I wanted to chat with you more under the umbrella of fatherhood. You are what most see as an exemplary father to your two boys, and not only to your two boys, but you're also a father to children in the community and young adults. I think you have a great relationship with them as I look on and see your involvement. And that's the reason why I thought of yourself to share and chat a little bit with you as we approach Father's Day. So I'm going to ask you some questions.
Thank you for having me. I hope I don't disappoint your audience.
Definitely not. Your audience is my audience. So we're going to chat away and just share from the heart exactly what we think of. All right. So basically, I wanted to give a shout out to my own father, Lionel Tough Skin Cameron. That was, they called him Tough Skin when he was a boxer. He was a boxer for Jamaica. And I learned a little bit about my father more when I'm an adult than when I was a child. I've found that my father has an outgoing personality. Well, I knew that one long time. He has an outgoing personality, but I find that maybe I'm a little bit close to that. I'll pass somebody on the road and just say hi and start talking to them. I've never met them before in my life. A lot of people are intimidated by that, but I will do that. So I found that that a likeness in my dad. Then also, as you know, I'm an author of many books. And what I found is that my father loves to read. So he would read newspaper. He doesn't read the traditional like fiction, books and stuff like that. He reads newspaper. He reads the Bible. He just reads anything that he can catch and he just delves into it. No, I never realized that until when I grew older. I knew it was from my uncle Adolf, but not necessarily from my father. But when as I look and watch and reflect, I realize that's a quality from my dad. So that's just to give a shout out to my little dad, Lionel
Yes,
Tuskin Cameron.
I give a shout out to him too because I know him very well too.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So as I jump into the first question I wanted to ask you is, how do dads do things differently? So the HLN, CNN Hell 9 News, they put out that question recently asking dads, how do dads do differently? But I want to put a little bit of a twist on it and to get your thoughts on it. I am a single parent, have been for a long time because my kid's father died tragically. So I basically raised both of them. He died when the youngest, my youngest was maybe like 4 months old. So basically I just took on the role and I've been in it. And I wanted to put that twist on it to say there are so many single parents, single mothers out there, and they ask, how do dads do things differently? Is there something that my girls are missing because they never had a father in the home?
Um, for my background, as you know, I have a very biblical and spiritual background, and I know a lot of people don't like this when the Bible speaks about the man being the head of the house. They get the wrong interpretation of this head thing. But it wasn't about head in terms of on top and who is at the bottom, but it's who God has ordained to lead, especially with instructions. And those of you who read the book of Proverbs and those will get all of those instructions when Solomon says, my son, my son. So fathers have a different relationship with their children than mothers. Sometimes I envy, and I use that word strongly, I envy the relationship my sons have with their mother. But with me, it is also something different that maybe she doesn't envy, but I'm sure she understands the relationship that boys have. right? Especially boys. Unfortunately, I don't have any girls so that I can mirror image to you what should be for girls, but I have boys.
Right.
And as boys, we did a lot of things together, right? And that is
Yes.
what we try and do differently when mom is not around. We played the sports together. Boys will always want to play sports, right? So I have tried to do a lot of the motherly things too. I'm not as good as making kiss, kiss when they get a cut or those sort of things, but I try and do some of the household chores that you think is really for mothers.
Yeah.
I did a lot of those with my boys.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So I get it that because you didn't have any girls in the home and stuff, but the things I think are the same, similar to this the different sexes. It does to me, maybe it didn't matter that way. But I get and I take your point. The second question I wanted to ask you is how do you balance the needs of young adults with your desire to please your child? And I wanted to just wait and let me explain this question a little bit. I am reflecting on a number of, I like to, I follow the news, but not necessarily for just to be informed. I do it from an analytical perspective. And I was looking and listening to recently a guy, a young boy, maybe 18 years old, his dad bought him a car, a Lamborghini, which means that they're pretty affluent and all. Bought that and had it on Facebook and sharing and so on. And not too long ago, after he got the car, he drove the car and hit into another car or some accident, and tragically a young lady died,
Wow.
which is really sad. Then there's another one that I know of, some high school kids that were driving in a Tercel. That car is very fast, and they were driving and drove into a light pole
Mhm.
and burst into flames. And I think two of them died and some were in the hospital. So I'm sharing that really sad news, but I'm just sharing it because I know that parents, especially affluent parents, tend to want to give the child physical things to show the love as opposed to them being around. So I'm asking, how do you as a dad would recommend, um, you know, how do you as a dad handle something like that where you have to balance the needs of the physical needs of the child with that love for the child and a desire to please the child? That's what is most important.
Excellent question. And here's another controversial thing out of the Bible that a lot of people have difficulty with. When it says, train up a child in the way he shall go, and when he's old, he will not depart from it. A
Right.
lot of parents worry about their children, where to send them to, what not to send them to. I have been training, well, not just me, my wife and I and grandparents have
Right.
ensured that we gave them the right background. So even though I provide a car for my sons, they can go anywhere that they want. Literally, they don't go anywhere that they can go. They go to places that are wholesome. I don't worry about them going out and getting imbibed with strong alcohol or with drugs because of the basics that we have underpinned to them. And they know, and they would say, they would come back to us and tell us, Daddy, their friends were doing this and that, but they didn't do it. And it's not because we warned them and say, listen, if you come home, we're going to, well, I don't know if you're American audience will understand, but Jamaicans would drop lick onto their children. But we didn't do that. We kind of brought them out to respect people, to
Right.
love God, to do what is right at all times. And that has helped me as a dad not to have to be following them up. So they want to go somewhere and say, no, I'm coming with you, I'm coming with you. No, we gave them the training and they
Right.
knew exactly what their parents expected. Not that they didn't do anything wrong, nobody goes away and say they didn't do anything wrong, but they know what was expected of
Right.
them
Right. Right.
because we try to be good examples. That's what training up a child is all about. Good examples, right? And they saw it in us, and we as fathers saw it in other fathers that we got as examples in the places where we go. We got those examples, and we try to give it to our children too. When my sons were in prep school, um, I was very much involved with them. A lot of women, but I was always there because I wanted to be involved in their lives, so much so that I became chairman of the sports committee, and so they were involved with sports. Their father is always there in the background. When I went to Wolmer's when they went to Wolmer's high school, I became president of the PTA, so that I was always involved, not in
Not
their
as a
life, but around their life.
not as a peeping tom, right? Not to watch them, but
No man, but they knew that I was there, so they can,
right. I get it. I get it. And in my book, Green Light, one thing I spoke about was a prayer for my daughter, that when she's making her, I say not my daughter's mistakes made. Because when they go away to college, they're under a lot of influences from external forces and so on and so forth. So I said, if she is going to make a mistake, it was always my prayer that the mistake will not mean that she wouldn't end up with something that's going to affect her for the rest of her life negatively. So I do understand where you're coming from, and I do believe in training up that child in the way it should go. And then you leave them, because even when they do something wrong, they're going to come back. Sometimes my kids come back and confess to me, hey, I did this, I know it wasn't the right thing, but they did it. So it's basically reality.
Yeah.
So thanks for sharing that. My next question is, do you think today's fathers have it harder than, let's look at it, harder or easier than in the past?
Wow. I think they have it
You are in
harder.
IT, so let's talk about it from that perspective.
I think they have it harder in the sense that in our days, they used to talk about a village raising children. So you used to have all the people in the community that would help you to raise your children. That's the Jamaican environment.
Yes.
So that if you're not around, the neighbor would make sure that your child is,
Right.
So we had help. Today, it's very, very, very difficult. Every man to himself is what happens in today's
society, yes.
environment. And of course, with a lot of different things happening in our world today, not going to go into those, but a lot of different things happening, and you have to ensure that you do a lot more to keep them grounded, because so many different messages are out there and are getting at them, So like Job, we have to pray for them. We can't just lock them up in the house.
Right.
But when we send them out, we do pray for them. So it's a little harder, and the work environment, and I speak to you, Shelley, as a former HR person, specialist, consultant, all those things that you used to do to
and
make
sure
that families are,
okay.
I mean, in Jamaica, that is, make sure that families are important to the work life, etc. Those family trips, those things don't happen again. So you are literally being dragged away from your children. And even in COVID, it gets even more, difficult with they have to be at home rather than in their spaces where they have a supervisor, whether it's at school or their workplace. They are now at home by themselves. So you get this feeling that it's a little bit more harder, even though you have the technology to communicate with them through the distance. But it's still, I feel, more difficult for fathers today. We might have more affluent things, meaning we have money and we have car, we have this, but that's not what makes a family. That's not what makes a good father. Right? So I would say that we have to work much harder in raising our sons and daughters. Yeah.
I couldn't agree with you more. I do believe that is really the case. And I know you're talking about the older kids because the younger ones are at home, but then guess what? They're into a room locked away or in a room, and the parents come in and they take a look at the stuff and then they move off. And then these little kids, they learn how to trick the teachers.
Yeah,
In
yeah,
the
yeah,
online school, they learn they can teach me some stuff. Two little grand
yeah.
ones teach me some stuff. So I do understand and appreciate your views and thoughts on that. My next question is, what traditions did your own father pass on to you that you will pass on to your kids?
Hmm. Um, I'm not sure I can. My father,
Yes,
let me just be very honest with you and
yes,
clear with you.
yes.
It was 12 of us, 9 boys and 3 girls. So I know my father had it very difficult, not just financially,
Mm-hmm.
because my father had it so difficult financially that he ended up in prison for a year.
Mm.
I'm not sure if many people would know that, but he's now deceased, so don't call him and
Okay.
ask if it's true. But um,
I'm
he
sorry
had it,
about that, but the way you
he,
said it, I had to laugh.
he had it difficult, and so we would go to school without meals, lunch money. My father, that was one of the reasons why I had to go and work early because I had no financial support. But I
Mm-hmm.
know my father had it difficult. So
Mm-hmm.
when
Mm-hmm.
others would blame my father, I didn't because
Mm-hmm.
I knew he
Mm-hmm.
had it extremely difficult. But I remember some things my father used to do, you know. Nobody on this would ever remember this, not even you, Shelley, but up at Oak Gardens, they used to have the military band perform every Sunday
Mm-hmm.
afternoon, and my father used to take us there. You know, if
Mm-hmm.
nothing else I
So six
remember
children.
being taken on this number 6 bus, JOS bus, to Hope Gardens and sat down and listened. And so even through his little poverty, he found that time on a Sunday
Right.
afternoon
Okay.
for that. The other thing he did was we had to go to church like it or not, because in our days, cricket used to play over Central. There's a school called Central Branch near us.
Uh-huh.
Cricket and football and everything, and especially on a Sunday. And you really wanted to go and be a part of that. But my father insisted that we had to go to Sunday school. And
Mm.
so here am I involved in Sunday school, made sure my children went to Sunday
Right.
school, and they are now involved in Sunday school. So despite all the difficulties that was, involved, I also would talk about my father and my mother.
Uh-huh.
Um, it's a rare thing, but my father, despite all of this, he never disrespected my mother any time at, well, not that I saw,
Right. Okay.
never disrespected her. And I don't know, at the end of his life, I felt a real sense of sorrow for him because he didn't have the means to give to us, and that kind
Mm-hmm.
of affected some of the relationship. So
Mm-hmm.
it spurred me on that, listen, my boys, with
Mm-hmm.
whatever I get, I'm going
Right.
to ensure that I look after them to the
Mm-hmm.
best of my ability. Sometimes spoil them, but they got so much more because I got so much less. I try to give
Yes.
them a lot of what I didn't get.
Awesome, love that. And for those who are not Jamaican, they learned a little bit about Hope Gardens and some of the schools in Jamaica and so on as you shared your experience of growing up. And what I liked is you sharing deep down, not necessarily the good things, but also some of the things that are a little bit sensitive for us, as in the journey. I would call it a journey to incarceration on your dad's part, and the fact that he had 12 children and life was hard. So we have to all put it all in context, because I hear some celebrities also talking, and they also shared some of those insecurities they had as a child growing up. And I like how you brought it back around together to share that now you're giving your kids, who are now grown, but we still spoil them. You're
Yeah,
giving them the best you can.
I That's right, yeah.
Right. And then, of course, so it's not only the physical, the spiritual, but also you're there for them in their life. And I know you will continue to be there for them. My next question as we progress is, what's the hardest moment you had being a father?
Hard. Well, let me just say, praise God, we have not had many, many hard times with my son. The hardest time I'm having is now, where one of my son is now married.
Okay.
Um,
Congrats to him.
but I remember the day when he got engaged. He came home quite happy, telling us about it, etc., etc. And then the following day is the place of his employment made him redundant.
Uh-oh.
Um, and I could just see the,
Yes.
I mean, as a father, I have
Yes.
felt like, boy, is there something I can, do for him? There is not a Shelly Cameron in Jamaica that I can go and say, can you find a job quickly for my son because he's going into this. And I know, and by the way, that's from last year, September, and he's still not working and he got married too. So I know it's a time of difficulty and I can see the change in him. My son was quite, have a sense of joke and stuff about him, but now he's a different person. I think this has affected him, and as it has affected him, it has also affected me, because especially that one that was the first one, and I grew very close to him. I'll tell you a story that when he was about 2, 3 years old, he got not that disease, what that running belly thing called again, where he was vomiting and had diarrhea. And I kept him all night, sat up all night with him until I realized that he was totally dehydrated.
That's a gastroenteritis?
Yeah, gastroenteritis, right?
Okay.
Which most Jamaican children have one way or the other. And I carried him to the doctor, and the doctor said I had to carry him to Children's Hospital because he needs rehydration, etc. And of course, my heart was, I kept on praying that nothing would happen to him, and they admitted him at the hospital. And I stayed all night at the hospital with him. There were lots of children on that ward that had the same thing. And as night came, the mothers would sneak out, but I didn't leave because I wasn't going to leave my son there, and I stayed there until 6 o'clock in the morning. The other mothers came back and they said to each other, wait, the father is still there? But I wasn't going to leave my son, and I stayed there until about 10 o'clock when the doctor came and she says, it's okay, he's rehydrated, you can take him home. And that's the joy of parents, even those of us who, when they get married, you still want them at home because you have not learned to let them go. But the Bible says you have to let them go. So I was happy to take him home, and he has been like that since. And when he got married, they asked me if I'm not going to cry. I said, no, but I feel I've done most of what I could have done for him, and I'm still doing because I have to ensure that he remains a man.
Yes,
A woman, so
yes.
I have to ensure that he has money and keep him going until he gets a job, which I'm trying to see how I can get for him. So the Lord bless us with two sons, one that was very independent, still very independent. The younger one does everything himself, goes about, etc. So the Lord didn't give us more. In other words, if we had two sons like that, it would have been extremely difficult, but he gave us one that was easy and one that we had to work with. And that's how God is, not going to give you more than you can bear.
Exactly. And I mean, the pandemic has brought on a lot of changes in society. I'm out there working with the Hospitality HR Association here in South Florida. So I know because that industry has been turned upside down. So he's not unique in the loss of the job, and it has really done a lot of for our mental psych, for those who are not employed. And really, it's not for a lack of wanting effort in trying to get another one, another job. Everything has been turned upside down. So I know that pretty soon he'll be back to normal. And I know all of the pandemic issues and things are still happening worldwide. So we just have to hold on, and I know he will get something pretty soon. But I just wanted to reiterate about the pandemic, because I know that's what is affecting things now. The maturity that he's gaining is also really, really something. Sometimes it works in such ways that this is a time of learning for most people. Some things I saw that has changed. Even she calls herself old auntie, is now very, very good. I shouldn't say very, very good, but she's now familiar with Zoom. Because before,
Yeah.
you can't ask those older folks to go onto Zoom. They wouldn't know what it is, but they had
Right.
no choice. So everything has been changed. The world has been turned upside down, and people are more technological. And that's why I said it was good to chat with you, Dave, because that's your industry. And my last question is basically, as a legacy, how would you like to be remembered? And I'm not saying now that you're going to pass away now or anything like that. I'm thinking of me as a writer. I wrote my first book because I wanted my grandkid to learn. If I should pass on, there's something tangible that he has that can talk about leadership, success, and those are timeless. Those principles will last forever. Well, hopefully, will last and last. So I wrote a book and put it in it. Not everybody are writers. There are other things that people do. So I'm asking you, Dave, as a legacy, how would you like to be remembered as a father?
Uh, um, my son said something about me that I'm not sure if I must interpret it as good or as bad, but my sons keep on saying that I have more children than them. And it's not like the Jamaican father. I don't have any other children
I
outside
know.
of my marriage.
Yeah.
But they have watched me trying to help so much
Right.
other children, and I've
Yeah.
explained to them that they are not going to take anything away from you. Matter of fact, the Lord has blessed, and when He bless, you bless others. So they know all of my children, my Sunday school children, especially are my community children. And
Mhm.
they call me coach too, because I coach the church football team. Well, I used to coach Glatzer Smith Klein football team too, but I coach the community. So I have a lot of boys. And
Yeah.
what they remember most about me, these boys, is that it's not necessarily about the football coaching, but they knew that they could get a meal after the match. They knew that if they had need lunch money for the week or something, they would get it. So I think my sons would remember me as somebody who gave away all of the money that they could have gotten, um, because I don't really have a lot stored. I ensure that they have,
Yes,
which is my
yes,
first
yes, yes,
responsibility.
yes,
But they know that anybody can come to me and they
yes.
can be assured that somehow or the other they can be helped, right? So
Yeah.
one of my son calls me dad, and the other one calls me Dave. I don't know
Okay.
if you understand the difference, but the big one calls me Dave, not out of disrespect,
Right.
but out of the relationship. So Dave, where are we going today, Dave? And I'm like, why is this boy calling me Dave? But he just kept on going, Dave. But the other one is dad. Dad, can I gives you the sort of a baby relying on their dad. He keeps
Yes,
on calling me
yes,
dad. So
yes.
it's good. I could ask better. I could ask
Mhm.
for more. And I
Yes.
must say that the Lord has been good, and their mother supporting has been great
Right,
in
right,
our
right,
lives. So
right.
I
So
don't know
that's
if
your
they will
legacy.
don't know if they will say much about me at my going away, but I
There's lots can
appreciate
say,
them.
so it's whether it is the biological father or what. So I'm pretty good when I did the introduction to you, because I know of your involvement in the community and how other kids look to as so-called a father as well. So it's really good that you ended our conversation based on the community involvement that you've had both at the high school level, right throughout, and at the church level in Sunday school, and the upbringing that your father had. And what I wanted also to mention is that what stood out for me mostly when you were talking is a lot of what you've been doing for many years, and it came up as it came up as in a time when fathers were being asked to stand up, to dad up, is how they put it, to dad up, man up, and become a father. But you were there already in the community doing a lot, and even helping to raise these kids now that have grown up and are now fathers themselves. So that is something that I think I appreciate and really applaud you for. And as we end, I don't know if you have any question or any comment that you want to share now as we close.
Well, as we go out to Father's Day, I'd like to encourage mothers and, well, fathers especially, that you're not alone,
Right.
right? And don't try to do it alone. I have a nephew that is staying with me now from the US, where he came down for some holidays. And everything you try to do for him, he said, no, I can do it myself. I can do it myself.
Right.
And I
Right.
think too many parents are trying to do it themselves. You can do some things, but allow others to help. And if you have a partner, allow the partner to be of assistance too. Don't block them out because you think you are the best father or you are the greatest father. You don't need the mother. No, it is a partnership. You complement each other to make the family life better, so that what you have, the mother might not have, but together you would raise tremendous sons and daughters that in turn are going to raise tremendous sons and daughters. And that's how the circle should be, that we together raise children for the generation to come, so that our world will be a better place.
Perfect. So I think that's the best way for you to wrap up and so on. Thank you so much, Dave, for the advice that you've given. And again, I'm Dr. Shelley Cameron, author, everything, HR, organizational development leader, everything. I try to get in to do stuff that will help other people progress and grow. I believe in personal growth, and that's what I spend my time doing. So thank you for joining, and you can find me online at shelleycameron.com. Thank you so much.